Hi, it's Kathy. Welcome back to Kathy's Happy Home. Sorry I'm getting this out so late to you today, but my battery was dead, and so I had to take time to charge it and then get everything set up. But I'm glad you're here now, and today I thought I would answer some of your questions. Over the last, let's see, 3 videos, I've gotten 4 questions, and I have answered you directly, but I thought it might be interesting for other people to hear the answers. The first question I have is, let's see, from Sue Peterson. And when I showed you my August garden, Sue said, I think I saw a rose bush in your yard, right? You're absolutely right, Sue. You saw the one rose bush on the right-hand side of the yard. On the left hand, I have 4 rose bushes. I had a lot more rose bushes when I moved in. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I chose this house, is because I love roses. And they actually had something like 14 rose bushes in the yard. And over the years, they've died off. It was mostly red or deep pink roses. But there were a couple yellow rose bushes. My mother loved yellow roses, so those were her favorites. But the one rose that I was really sad that died was a peace rose. I don't know if you know what a peace rose looks like, but let me stop this right here and I'll insert a picture to show you. The reason that the peace rose was my favorite was because the people who lived here before me had a son named John who was killed in World War II. And they planted that rose bush in 1945 as a memorial to him. And I always kept it really nice because I lost relatives in World War II also, and I wanted to keep this nice as a memorial for him. But unfortunately, the people who were living in back of me at that time, it was at the back of the yard, hated roses, threw poison on it, and killed it. I don't understand why they would do that, but it's gone. Hopefully I'll get these other ones unearthed and you can see them. Unfortunately, I had all these plans to work in the yard, but the way the weather is, it was up to 104 the other day. I just am not going out there and working in the yard. I'd be so sick. So we're waiting till the temperatures get a little lower, and then I'll be out there. Okay, thank you for your question, Sue. And Mary in Idaho. Hi, Mary. She asked me actually 2 questions, and one of them was also about the garden, and she said, where was the privacy fence you had to take out? The last picture of your yard looked fully fenced. Well, yes, Mary, it is fully fenced. It has a cyclone fence between me and my next door neighbors. That is right on the property line. But we put up a privacy fence. One of the main reasons was that there was poison ivy coming from my neighbor and back into our yard and then into my next door neighbor's yard. I am not allergic to poison ivy. I have even sat in it not knowing that I was sitting in it, and nothing happened to me. My dad and mom also no reaction to poison ivy, so I come by it naturally. But my next door neighbor would get really sick with the poison ivy, and I wanted to stop it going into her yard because I did not want her to get sick. But the other reason is I really, after I saw the other neighbors having privacy fences, I thought this would be really nice. It makes it more of an outdoor room rather than a yard. And I really wanted that for myself. Unfortunately, the first two panels, we bought it thinking that they were new panels, but I guess they weren't because they started rotting. We paid a lot of money for that fence. And to have the panels just rot was terrible. So we also paid a lot of money to have those two panels taken down. But it's better this way. Will we get more panels up? We can't afford to. That's the basic answer. We can't afford to. We don't have that kind of money. So my flag and my rooster stake that I just bought are no longer against what looks like a wooden wall. I'm going to try to move them someplace else where they actually show up better. But that where it was from the beginning of our patio halfway down the yard on the right hand side. So if you look at old videos, you can see where it was, and it's not there anymore. But we are fully fenced. Okay, and the other question Mary asked me was on my surprise Sunday trip video, and she said, is there a possibility that we will move to Cape May Courthouse, where the church that we like to go to is? There's always a possibility. We are looking at a lot of options, and we're even looking at the option of staying where we are and fixing the house up because it needs a lot of work. But what Joe and I are saying is wherever God wants us, that's where we're going to go. We're just waiting for His direction. It's more important that we be in God's will than in our will. Man, if it were my will, I'd be in a mansion, but that just is not going to happen, and so we're just waiting for God to show us where He wants us. And we're not sure. We're simply not sure. We're keeping all our options open. We're looking lots of places, but we're not sure. When I know, I will let you guys know. And finally, in my 16 questions video, Patty McDonald asked, how did Joe and I meet? And that's quite a story. It's sort of hard to explain. I was in a relationship with a guy for 14 years. We were engaged, and then we weren't, and then we were, and then we weren't. And finally, it was broken up for good. And I started going out with, after 6 months or so, I started going out with a guy named Ed, who was a friend of a friend. Sorry, it is so hot and I'm so thirsty. So Ed and I dated maybe a year, but a few months into it, he asked me to go to his Bible study. Well, the Bible study he attended, which was at my old church that I used to go to. And I said, oh, I don't know. And he said, oh, come on. You know everybody there. Why don't you go with me? And finally, he talked me into it. So I went around. I was a little nervous about going, but it was fine. And Ed and I went in, and everybody was, oh, we're so glad to see you, which was really nice. And the pastor said, we have some new people here. This is John, this is Andy, and this is Joe. And I said hello to all of them. But when I saw Joe, I said, oh, he's so nice looking. And he said that when he saw me, he thought, oh, she's so nice looking. But he was in a relationship. I was in a relationship. And we weren't going to do anything about it, you know. But we did get to be really good friends. I got to be really good friends with everybody there, right? And after Joe's relationship with this other person ended, he and Ed had been transferred in his job to Michigan. I wasn't seeing anyone, and Joe asked me if I'd like to go to dinner. I said, sure. And then we started spending time together, and so after a few years, really years, one night he came over, we were watching TV, and he said to me, you know, this is nice, just like when we're going to be married. And I said, when we're going to be married? We're not going to get married. And he said, yeah, we are. I said, no. And he said, we will, you wait and see. So the next day he calls me, and he says, so when are we going to get married? And I said, we're not getting married. He said, yeah, we will. And the next day he calls me. So when we're married, I told you we're not getting married. Yeah, we are. And after a week of this, I said, when he called, I said, if I say yes, will you please stop calling me? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay. He said, good, I knew you'd marry me. That was our romantic engagement. But I haven't regretted it. Joe's the perfect person for me. And we're crazy about each other even after 17 years. We're crazy about each other. So, that is how Joe and I met Patty. It's not much of a story, but I bet it's unique. I don't think anyone else had that story. So that's the end of the questions. If you have other questions you want to know, ask. I'm pretty much an open book. I hope you enjoy this. I'm sorry it's so late getting up. But I guess it's, late is better than not at all. Such an open book. Next week we'll be celebrating our anniversary, and I'm not going to have a video up on Friday. So I hope you understand. Sometimes real life has to take precedence. And so I will give you a video on this coming Tuesday, and then the Tuesday after that you'll get the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate you more than you know. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Make sure you hit that like button. And I will see you all next time.